Those who read the Bachelorete spoilers likely weren't shocked to learn that Rachel Lindsay's journey isn't a two-person race just yet. On part 2 of a two-night Bachelorette event Tuesday, this new contender emerged to challenge Brian and Peter for Rachel's heart. Eric Bigger, pictured, opened up to Rachel on a one-on-one date in a way that separated himself from many of the remaining contestants, of whom there are 6 fewer now. Yes, she cut 6 in a single episode, as predicted by Bachelorette spoilers, and very likely a record. First and foremost, Lee got the boot. Thank goodness. The fact that Lee Garrett is racist, or sure acting like it, took place at the outset of the second half of this heavily teased two-part event. Lee's feud with Kenny Pretty Boy Pitbull King, a black wrestler from Las Vegas who he called aggressive, reached a boiling point. Things grew so bad that Chris Harrison seemingly tried to downplay any racial tensions, attributing the conflict to jealousy and ego. Ultimately, after hearing from both of the men, Lindsay ultimately sided with King and eliminated Garrett during their two-on-one date. She simply couldn't trust the latter, she said. King, however, was not long for this journey either. The single father and Lindsay ultimately agreed that it was best to part ways. The wrestler is a single father, after all, and was clearly having issues with being apart from his little girl for the duration of this. Not seeing a future with him to the extent that she's forming a connection with some of the other guys, Rachel suggested he go. It was a good decision for the right reasons. Crazily, the episode saw 3 additional guys sent packing, including Will Gaskins after a one-on-one date that featured zero chemistry. Maybe even negative chemistry if that's possible. Also a decision it's hard to blame Rachel for. Meanwhile, Anthony Battle and Josiah Graham were eliminated during the rose ceremony. Eric Bigger, who had previously complained about Battle being the only black man to get a one-on-one, he later got his own, commented. 2 more black guys sent home by Rachel. In total, 4 African American men left the show on Tuesday, which of course is something that Lindsay will be scrutinized for heavily. It's such a struggle, she said of the goodbyes. Alex Bordiukov joined Lee, Kenny, Will, Anthony and Josiah in punching his ticket home during the episode's second rose ceremony. After last night, only 6 men remain. Wow. Eric Bigger is the sole black contestant among them, though he did establish himself as a bona fide threat to win the final rose Tuesday. Admitting he had never fallen in love before because he doesn't know what love is, but he knows what he feels with her is so right. About the sweetest thing you'll ever see. As for the inevitable conversations about interracial relationships, Rachel says she'll have them once she sees a future with a contestant. Brian Abatalo, who is Colombian, for what that's worth, had one such talk this week. "Do you think your family will accept me?" she asked. He replied that his family is very open and that any person who loves Brian would be loved unconditionally and 100% in return. Meanwhile, The Bachelorette continues to be overshadowed somewhat by the Bachelor in Paradise scandal playing out in the media. That matter also involves a racial controversy. Demario Jackson, speaking out for the first time this week, implied that as a black man, he felt he could be a target for false accusations. He didn't blatantly point fingers regarding the fallout from his hookup with Corinne Olympios, but the implication was clear nonetheless. Gaskins went a step further this week. It wasn't until a black man got into the mix that this was deemed as no longer acceptable, he said of the shenanigans in Paradise.